Welcome in to Moving the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside John Epps. Happy Halloween, everyone. We're here for a round one playoff preview special. John, the brackets are set. Some teams you feel like, with the way this is done by the high school league where it's already preset, some teams we think are really good are going to have a really tough road, while some teams that may not be as good may have a easier road. It's the way it shakes out, but that's how it goes, man. But these playoffs are going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's in the first round is going to be a little bit more sparse between good games. Well, there's a few out there, but the playoffs as a whole are going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, they certainly are. If you guys tune in for the first time, we appreciate you. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter /X, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains, MOVINCHAINS. Our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Our website is movingchains.com. We do a live preview show every Tuesday night about 7 o'clock or so on Facebook and YouTube. Hop in here, give us your thoughts, share it, tell your friends. A lot of fun to do that and preview the week coming games. We do a recap show, comes out on Sundays on our podcast platforms. Also do a live show on Twitter /X Friday night about 10:30, 11 o'clock. Friday Night Spaces, basically recapping all those games, giving the scoreboard report, having different players and coaches and play guys hop in. It's a lot of fun to do. So hopefully you guys will join us on all those platforms all we got, because now we're through the regular season, John, but, man, it's really going to crank up here these next 5 weeks.
Yeah, regular season is just the build up for the playoffs. This is what really matters. Region play matter because that dictates if you get in the playoffs, and then your home field advantage, who you line up against, and this is what it's all about. The month of November, and then that first week in December for those that are lucky enough to play.
No doubt about it. Well, as you see on the screen there, get you some Moving the Chains merch. We got hats, Richardson hats right now. We've got some beanies, some black and gray beanies. Very good stuff for the cold weather. Check it out. It's on our social media pages. We have pictures on there for you guys. We have our Gmail. You can set up right here, mtcgear.sc@gmail.com. You can reach out to for questions as well. Also have hoodies, very comfortable hoodies. Everybody I talk to loves them. I wore one to the game Friday, this gray version right here. Really good stuff. Get you one for the cold weather. Support the boys, support the team. Help us continue to get better gear and whatnot for the show. So definitely check that out. Get some Moving the Chains gear and help us out that way. But, John, let's start off now with our Games of the Week brought to you by CONA, CONA.care for more information. Let's start down in the 1A ranks. This is a game here where I know, we say typically round one you don't get a lot of big ones. But this one here is probably a third-round quality talent level, third-round quality matchup here. And that's Lakeview at 6-3, traveling to Whale Branch at 7-1. Lakeview fell victim to both Lamar and Latta. That put them down to the 3 seed in their region while they got to go on the road here. Whale Branch, spotless record until last week, fell to Bamberg-Gerhardt 28-10. John, Lakeview's a team that we talked about earlier in the year was a young guy, a bunch of young guys there growing up throughout the season. They're getting better and better. Their one loss outside of that Latta and Lamar game was to Marion to start the year. Nothing wrong there at all. Are they to the point now where they can knock off a big boy like a Whale Branch? Or are they still a little bit too young for that, you think?
I think they're a little bit too young. What scares me about this Lakeview team and winning this ball game is their offense.
Yeah,
they play good defense. They play good defense really all season long, but I don't know that offensively they're going to have enough firepower against Whale Branch. This is the Whale Branch team, and we've heard it from across the state. They got some really, really scary weapons on that team. And, this team they were cruising up until that Bamberg-Gerhardt game. And that goes to show how good Bamberg-Gerhardt is.
Yeah.
That was a game that I really put an asterisk by last week, and a game I was really, really interested in. And that's really been, you look through their schedule. I think Bamberg is the only team to hold Whale Branch under 42 points all season long, winning that game 28-10. This is a lethal Whale Branch team, and they beat some solid opponents. They blew out an Alabama Fairfax team that's been playing good football this year. Blew them out a couple weeks ago. This is a Whale Branch team. I think they're going to be a team that can make a deep run in the playoffs. And it starts Friday night. This is going to be a good game. Lakeview is a good team, and I think it will be a pretty close, relatively low-scoring game, maybe 20s, maybe 30s. But I think Whale Branch's got a little too much talent for this one.
The Wild Gators blanked HP 27-0 last week, averaging 30 on offense, 15 on defense. Quarterback Cason Herlong, running backs Terrell Foxworth and Jaden Ford. Defensively led by Price, Ray, Deese, and King. Will Branch, you mentioned that loss last week to Bamberg Earhart, 28-10. Still averaging 44 on offense, 11 on defense. Quarterback Jermon Bowers, probably more of a runner than a thrower, really back there at that spot for them. Running back KJ Chisholm is a stud, along with Daryl Cummings. Defensively led by Thompson, Evans, and Cummings. You know, this is the Will Branch team, John, that has been trending the right direction the last couple of years, it feels like, as well. They played some really good football. You know, this year had a smaller slate, only playing 8 games, which you ought to see, but still a good football team. I think that the road trip is not going to be easy for Lakeview. That's a long way down there to Beaufort. I think the Warriors are playing a little too good right now. I think they win this game, but this will be a really good 1A matchup, probably the best matchup in 1A in round 1.
Yeah, and this could be, outside of Bamberg Earhart, probably the best defense that Will Branch is going to face all year long. Or up to this point.
For sure. Drew, any comments on the Whale Branch Lake before we look into the next one? Kevron says, go Greg Collegiate. Kevron, glad to have you in here, man. Big game for Greg. Man, good to see you in here as always. Zach says, playoff time. Red Devils are ready to make another run. Adabo got into it last night with some Tiger fans. That's all we can say. I don't know. Got a lot of hand there. Tay, appreciate you hopping in here, man. The Rebs are poised for a deep run. Terrence and Vanessa, yes, Hampton County is rolling right now as well. They are playing great football. Of course, this playoff goes to Marion. Yeah, Lower State 2A is going to be a lot of fun down there. Kurt and Tony, thanks for tuning in as always. I bet it is cold in Oklahoma. Appreciate you being here with us. Barman won a good spot with that 2 seed. Adrian says we're late. Sometimes you got technical difficulties. Adrian trying to get it set up, man. Appreciate you hopping in. Louisville is ready for a deep run for sure. Anything else? Drill?
Let's roll the next game.
What's that?
Let's roll the next game, guys.
Perfect. Our second CONA game of the week, a 3A matchup here, and that's the Manning Monarchs traveling to the Philip Simmons Iron Horses. The Monarchs at 8-2, the Iron Horses at 9-1. Manning won a close one over Walkmall last week, 48-43. They're averaging 33-20 on the season. The quarterback is a transfer from Lakewood, Dre Mitchell, playing good football for them. Jalen Cord's an all-region nose tackle, also plays some running back when needed for them. Starting running back is Tristan Timms. Head coach Reggie Kennedy's doing a great job there with that Monarchs program. Philip Simmons, big winner of Battery Creek, 43-14, averaging 43 on offense, 18 on defense. Two-headed monster at running back here. KJ Asbury last week, 16 for 261, 2 touchdowns, has 1,600 on the year, John. Also, Sherrod Williams, over 1,000 yards as well on the season. The quarterback, Oriana, went 5 for 10, 2 touchdowns. He's not asked to do a whole lot. I feel like when he does throw it, it's usually a deep pass to Troy Stevenson, the GT commit, who's also a DB for them. So there's a lot of just go routes with that, it feels like. Bryce Smalls, Jabari Taylor also on defense. I'll tell you, John, I was really high on Manning until a few weeks back. They took the loss to Dillon, where they kind of let it go the second half and got blown out. But after that, they played a Thursday game against Loris and got absolutely smoked. I think it was 40-something to 0 in that. 41-0. 41-0 against Loris, who's a good football team. Didn't see that coming, and that's why, Manning is on the road here in round 1 is a loss like that. I feel like they're not playing great football right now. Even the Walkmall win, Walkmall's not a great football team. Winning that game by 5 points worries me a little bit. I think that Walkmall team is, 2-8, 3-7, something like that. Philip Simmons, their lone loss to Hanahan 2 weeks ago. But up until that point, you're playing great football, really getting it done on the ground there. I think Philip Simmons at home wins this one.
I think so too. And they got a lot of talent. You talk about the two-headed monster at running back. Asbury's got over 20. I think he's got 22 touchdowns rushing this year. And then you add in Stevenson. They can stretch the field if need be. And not only, even if you don't throw it too much, you still have to
got to respect it. Back a guy off.
You got to respect that. You can't just load up everybody in the box and forget about any kind of, deep pass play or any kind of pass play with Stevenson there. I think there's just too much to account for the Philip Simmons side. I think the Iron Horses, and gosh, they're 3 points away from being an undefeated football team. They are a really good team. They've bounced in and out of our top 5 all year. Yeah. This is a really, really good football team. I think Manning's good.
Yep.
Manning's good. I don't think they're good enough to win this first round game, though.
And they really struggled stopping the run, it feels like, too, because that's what Dillon wants to do. We know that. That's what Loris wants to do. Both the teams put up big numbers against them. Philip Simmons, that's all they want to do is run the ball. Yeah. So
and they do it well.
Got to lean Iron Horses here in this one. But, Jarrell, any comments on this ball game? But, yeah, exactly right, Corey. I agree with you on that. Bossman says Philip Simmons is going to manhandle him. Certainly could get a hand. Of course, Philip Simmons will win.
Yep, that's all we got on this game.
Perfect. Our third CONA game of the week here. A very intriguing 4A matchup to me here, John. And that's the Indian Warriors at 6-4, traveling to the Greer Yellow Jackets at 5-5. Greer's been kind of a hard team to figure out because they play such a tough non-region schedule. Although they lost to Daniel and lost to Burns and Hillcrest and I think teams like that. They've only lost one 4A game, and that was the West Side.
Yeah.
Then they turn around and they run the table in the region, undefeated in the region there to get to that 5-5 mark. Indian plays in kind of the opposite of Greer's region, which may be the easiest in the state. Indian plays in the toughest probably 4A in the state, but that one or the beach one there with Northwestern, South Point, York, and those guys. Can the lower seeded Warrior squad come over to Greer under the water tower and pull off an upset?
I think they will. I think this is one of those games where exactly what you said. Greer's in a more gettable region, and Indian's in a really, really tough region. So it's it equates to, well, is the 3 seed really better than the 2?
Yeah.
Because I think Indian's a better team here. They've got when they've played the thing with Indian though, when they played someone good, they've played pretty well.
Yeah.
But they've lost.
Yeah.
South Point, Northwestern, York, even they lost that game. But they play pretty good defense. They keep themselves in games for the most part. I think Indian's a slightly better team in this game. Can they shut down LaDainian Martin will be the big question. Being Greer's at home, that's a big time home field advantage. And Martin's probably the best player on the football field in this game. For me, that carries a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Indian wins this game. I think it'll be a good competitive game. I think it'll be close. But I like Indian by a little bit in this one.
Indian actually played on Saturday due to some power issues at the field there. They defeated Lancaster 25-22 last Saturday, averaging 20 on offense, 21 on defense. Not great there. They've had some blowout, blowout games there. Senior quarterback Jackson Scheitz, a 3-year starter for them. Love to see that back there, especially when the playoffs come around. Wide receivers Hayden Morris, Portis, Connor, and Myers. Running back, linebacker Jaden Singletary is a really good player for us, for them. I think one of our Super 75 guys. Defensively led by Keon Kyles and then Tamir Hickman Collins, a Florida State commit, also a Super 75 guy for us. We've got Greer, big win, 42-21 over Riverside. That's how they got that region title last week. 34 on offense, 27 on defense. You mentioned LaDainian Martin, 18 for 131, 2 touchdowns last week. Chase Birds missed some time early in the year at the receiver spot. He's back now after the injury. The season really changed for those guys when they inserted Chris Hall at quarterback. I think he was playing DB early in the year, made the switch, and then really that offense took off. Last week, only 6 for 9 passing, but carried it 20 times for 159 and 2 touchdowns. Max Hannon on defense is a ball hawk in the secondary. Well, like I mentioned, I think just they're a little more tested. Outside of region, you would say. Certainly. In region, they're not tested, so it's hard to make a judgment call there. I'm gonna go Greer at home because I like what they're doing now with Hall at quarterback and Martin at running back. Like I said, probably the best player on the field, him or Hickman Collins for Indian, one or the other. And that'll be a heck of a matchup watching that linebacker go against that running back all night long. But I'm gonna go Greer in a close one under the water tower.
All right, I'm gonna go. Okay, all right, I like it. Split decision here.
Love it. Drill, any comments on that ball game? Boston says Greer's better than their record. The Indian pull it out. Yeah, certainly better than 5-5. Yeah. You feel like I said, that non-region just beats them up every year. I think they won.
Yeah, that's all we got.
Game, I think.
I don't even know if it was that. Yeah, Blue Ridge.
Yeah.
That's all we got pertaining to that game.
Go ahead. All right. Perfect. Our fourth CONA game of the week here. A big 5A matchup. Maybe the game I'm most excited for in the state this week, honestly. And that's Ashley Ridge at 8-2 going to Sumter at 7-3. The Swamp Foxes are 2 losses. Fort Dorchester, Somerville. I mean, they're playing really good football right now. Last week defeated Stall 70-0, averaging 43 on offense, 21 on defense. Quarterback Trevor Khalid, just a sophomore, 10 for 12, 251, 5 touchdowns last week. Wide receiver Derek Sally Jr., one of the best players in the state. Very dynamic, very electric. 3 catches, 95 yards, 2 touchdowns. Defensively led by defensive back Nick Jefferson, Dylan Polanski, and new head coach Jeff Tate coming down from Wren, a guy who knows how to win, John. Sumter, on the other hand, they beat Conway 43-29, a little bit closer than you might think it might be against that squad there. 33 on offense, 19 on defense. Quarterback Peyton Merchant, 14 for 18 last week. John Peoples, 29 carries, $198, 5 touchdowns. Also, Cam Fortune is kind of a change of pace, the guy there for them. Wide receiver Jamie Tettard, eventually led by Rose and Thompson Durant, Addison. Good defensive line kind of susceptible to the pass, which is not what you want to hear when Derek Shaley Jr. is coming to town.
Yeah, and that, for me, that's going to be the difference in this ball game. I think Sumter they're very capable of this. I think this is a team that we talked about in the preseason, a dark horse to win the state championship, but they've just been inconsistent. I thought they had a good win. And I know Oceanside's, a 2A team. I thought they had a great win against Oceanside middle of the season. But they fell to Crestwood in overtime, dropped a couple other games that, a little bit surprising to me. I think Ashley Ridge is playing really, really good football right now. Probably playing I'd say they're probably their best football of the season, last 2-3 weeks of the year. I think Ashley Ridge is right where they want to be. And they've got that passing game that can be very scary for Sumter. I like Ashley Ridge to pull this one out.
Yeah, Drill and I saw Sumter take on Ridgeview early in the year. Sumter won that game handily, but it felt like Ridgeview had some opportunities through the air and just couldn't really capitalize. I think with Khalid and Sally Jr., I think you do capitalize on that stuff. I think for Sumter, the key to this game, if they want to win it, they got to really slow it down, grind it out, milk the clock, limit possessions, run the ball a ton, and just hope that they kind of can just squeeze the air out of that one. But I think Ashley Ridge is too much firepower, man. I like what Coach Tate's doing there. He's doing a great job. I love the way they're getting Sally involved, not through the passing game only, but just some Wildcat stuff as well. What do they need to do to kind of put up big points? I think they win this game, go on the road to win. I think that sets them up in a pretty good spot, honestly, in the bracket. So I think we're both kind of on the Ashley Ridge bandwagon right now.
Yeah, I think so. I like the way they're playing football right now. I think it could be a little bit of a shootout, though, which probably doesn't bode well for Sumter.
Yeah. Boston says this game's a toss-up. Anything else, Drell? Dion says AR by 14. Yep, I could see it. Ryan says I think Ashley Ridge wins big on the road. Certainly,
Ryan, you're familiar
happen.
with them. I trust
and
you.
then just going back to the Greer game.
John says Indian 35-21 over Greer. Okay, I love it. Now, our fifth CONA game of the week, our SCISA game of the week, a big 1A matchup, John. Clarendon Hall at Lee Academy. This is 2 8-2 squads going at it here. Clarendon Hall defeated St. John 16-9 last week. Running back Darius Aiken, 19 carries, $121, over 1,400 yards this year. Quarterback Graham Lee, defensive led by Aiken, Mathis, Robinson, and Fields. Lee Academy, 54-15 over Kings, 36 on offense, 19 on defense over the season. Deshaun Haddon and Bryson Muldrow at running back are playing really good for those guys. Offensive line was young to start the year, had a bunch of new guys coming in, have really gelled well. Defensively led by Wilkes, Haddon, Muldrow, and Boyce. This is an exciting game for me here because I think both teams are pretty even here, but it feels like kind of the best player on the field thing. I think Darius Aiken for Clarendon Hall is probably that. Okay. So I'm going to lean to the Saints, but this one, honestly, is a toss-up, which most of these playoff games are at this point, it feels like.
I agree with you. I like Lee Academy being at home.
It's a good point. Yeah, Coach Rankin does a great job there with that squad, and those guys at home is a tough place to play, so they could certainly pull that one out. Love it. Drew, any comments need to go through anything else before we look at the next part of the program?
No, I don't see any particular comments right here. Just John's got some predictions. I'll throw them up as we get to those games.
Perfect. Let's take a quick shout out to our friends of the program before we look at the statewide schedule.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
Carolina Orthopedic and Neurosurgical Associates, CONA, offers the most advanced training and experience in orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery, sports medicine, and pain management in the upstate. 3 convenient locations in Spartanburg, Duncan, and Greenville. Go to CONA.care to learn more.
Okay, let's take a look now at the 5A slate, the 5A bracket. Like we mentioned, John, round one, sometimes you see some games are not going to be close. But we'll see what happens. Let's go looking through at the 5A bracket now. Drew, you got a comment?
No, I was going to pull that bracket up.
Perfect,
did you guys want to read it first, or you want me to throw it on the screen?
Either way, if you want to throw it up while reading it, that's fine too. Whatever you want to do.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and throw it up there so we have a little visual.
Perfect. Okay, let's roll through it, John.
Yeah, we'll start in the lower state. So top of the bracket, we've got White Knoll hosting Cane Bay. And then the winner of that game is going to face the winner of Fort Dorchester Sockasty. That sets up a potential really exciting second round matchup. Below that, you got Chapin going to Stratford. And then Sumter, as we talked about, hosting Ashley Ridge. And then in the lower half of that lower state bracket, Somerville will be hosting River Bluff, Conway on the road against Berkeley, Carolina Forest hosting St. James, and then Goose Creek will host West Ashley.
Yeah, I think there's not a lot of potential for upset outside of the game. We mentioned Sumter, Ashley Ridge. I think West Ashley could be trouble for Goose Creek as well. They play pretty good defense there, it seems like, there for Coach Kiefer. And then the other one I wanted to look at was what was it?
I think Chapin Stratford's a little bit of a toss up.
Yeah.
For a 1-4 game.
Because it's that region, with Goose Creek.
Yeah.
We don't think they're that good. I think that's the issue with that one. But yeah, 5A should be fun in Lower State. Really, next week if we start getting into that Fort D White Knoll game and stuff like that. But let's take a look now at the Upper State.
Starting at the top left, we've got TL Hanna hosting Fort Mill. Here's a really fun game here. Dutch Fork will host Boiling Springs. This is a game that I think could be really, really close. And I think a pretty low scoring game as well. I like Dutch Fork at home, but this game could be interesting. And I think the rest of that Boiling Springs region would be pretty interested in how that game goes, because the rest of that region they're pretty locked in on having a good chance to go to Columbia. So they'd be interested to see how one of their own faces against the Dutch Fork program.
Yeah, Dutch Fork played a lot better lately after, since that White Knoll loss. They turned around and had a couple of nice performances. They're playing good football. Bowling Springs got that big win a couple weeks back over Spartanburg to put them in the playoffs there. I like Dutch Fork there for sure.
And then below that, we've got Woodmont going to Clover.
Could be sneaky good. Woodmont's a team that can put up some points, certainly in bunches. They're going to need it against Clover. We'll see how that goes. But that's a game that I think that Clover's a team that we kind of maybe underrate a little bit, just because that region's not the toughest, it feels like almost.
Yeah.
But what they're doing for Coach Woodbright, I think running off 8 wins in a row, playing good football for sure for the Blue Eagles are.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good game. But yes, certainly a potential 4-1 upset there. Then we got Gaffney hosting Lexington. I tell you what, if I told you at the beginning of the year, Gaffney and Lexington were going to face off in the first round of the playoffs, you would say, "Ooh, I don't know about all that."
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't have expected it.
Yeah, Lexington falling down to that 3 seed in their region there, and then Gaffney getting the 2 out of Region 2 5A. Lexington's a team, I think they just don't have any good wins. That's what worries about them. Like they lost to their big non-conference game against Gilbert. They beat Stratford. That's probably their best win, Stratford or West Florence, I'm guessing.
I'd say Stratford probably.
They're going to be run heavy, of course, with Coach Curtis there. I think Gaffney wins that ball game.
Now, here is a refreshing thing that we can say here. Rock Hill hosting a first-round playoff game. They'll be hosting Spartanburg. This is an interesting game. I think I don't know what to think about this one. I think Spartanburg should win, but Rock Hill might be playing better football right now.
Yeah, Rock Hill surprised me with that final score last week to Clover, not being more competitive in that ball game there. I like the quarterback. Matthew Wilson's a really good player. Receiver Malik, what is his last name? Clark. Sorry. He's a good player as well for the Bearcats. Spartanburg, their problem all year long, can't score points.
Yeah.
Can they do it this week? I don't know. I'm going to go. That's a Thursday night game too as well, by the way.
Oh, very cool.
Over at D3, because with them and Northwestern both getting home playoff games, that one is played on Thursday. I'm going to go Rock Hill at home, I think.
Now, this one's exciting. Talk about a team that can put up some points. JL Mann will be hosting Blythewood. Burns is going to be hosting Dorman. The reason you see that game, Dorman getting an at-large playoff bid, so a rare occurrence of having 2 region teams facing in the first round. And then to round it out, Nation Ford actually going to host Hillcrest.
Yeah, I think JL Mann too much offense, and they win that ball game. I think Burns probably beats Dorman by more than the last time because it's a little healthier now. That bye week 2 weeks ago really helped them out to playing good football right now. Dorman lost that one on a 2-point conversion the first time they played. I think Burns wins that ball game pretty handily. And then I think Hillcrest upsets Nation Ford as well. Nation Ford, kind of out of that weaker region. I like what the Rams are doing. I know they took a tough loss last week, but too much firepower on offense for me.
Yeah, that's a tough draw to get a 3 seed, and it's Hillcrest.
Yeah.
In this bracket, boy, it shakes up for some really, if things go the way we think they are, some really exciting second-round matchups. We can talk about those next week if they happen.
Yeah. So looking at the 5A bracket, John or Drell, any comments from the chat on this 5A first round slate?
Yeah, just got a lot of score predictions for sure. Let's go ahead and throw these up there.
JP says JL Man over Blackwood. Dion says Dutch Fork 21-10.
I like that. I like that.
Andy says Woodmont with the upset. Clover's 8-2, but only beat 2 teams winning record. That's certainly could happen.
That's a good point.
Like I said, Woodmont's put up some good points this year. They can get hot with Williams and Sink and those guys there. They have a good squad for sure. Dion says Lexington with an upset. That would be quite a surprise. But hey, you never know in the playoffs.
Yep,
Dion,
that's
you
all
might catch
we.
heat on that one.
That's all the comments we got right now for
Love
those
it.
games.
Okay, let's take a quick look at 5A. So what we want to do tonight, guys, is we're going to go through the first round matchups in each class, and then maybe give some of our favorites, some of our sleepers in 5A, who we like, who we don't like, and then we're going to play another little game here in a second too. But John, who are maybe your one or two favorites, or who's a sleeper you want to kind of highlight here in this 5A bracket?
My favorite, I want to go with Burns. I think they're playing good football. Last few years, Burns has been really good, but it seems like they kind of faltered, in a big game here or there.
Yeah.
They had a huge win last Friday against Gaffney. I think they're rolling into the playoffs with a ton of confidence. They know they're good. They're probably as healthy now as they've been all year, except for maybe the first few weeks. But that I think they're lined up to have a really good run, have a really good shot at getting to Columbia. And my sleeper comes from the lower state, and that's Ashley Ridge. When we talk about this program with the wide receivers that they have, boy, they are dangerous. And they play good football. They've been a little bit tested. They played some good teams. I think they played with Somerville and Fort Dorchester.
Yep.
I think they're in a position to where, where they are in the bracket, I think bodes really, really well for them. I think that Ashley Ridge team can make a very, very deep run too. They're my sleeper.
I like what those guys are doing. You mentioned your favorites. I mean, I think Upper State, it's got to be Burns right now from what they've done. Lower State, I'm kind of, conflicted here because I like Somerville, but I really like that White Knoll squad too.
Yeah.
But what worries me with them, and I've got two sleepers here. One of them is Fort Dorchester. Okay. And because they're in a good spot where they get White Knoll right away.
Yeah.
And if they win that ball game, they're almost cruising to the lower state final, honestly, if they can get past.
Maybe they get to Ashley Ridge.
So I think they're a really good squad. Another team I like, I think you got to look out for, Carolina Forest.
Yeah.
A team that we have not talked a lot about. They've got 3 losses, Somerville, South Florence, Oceanside. All 3 of those games, they had the ball with the lead in the fourth quarter, ended up losing them. Playing really good for Coach Morris right now. That running back is doing a great job for them, Khalil Johnson. They're a team to look out for. And then hard to have this team as a dark horse here, Dutch Fork.
Oh, boy.
The Silver Foxes are playing a lot better. Tommy Knott said it's going to be a November to remember. They've played good defense all year. They really have. Just can they get the offense going? John Hunt being back, he's getting more and more comfortable. And I was thinking about the other day, they lost a lot of games early on. And they came back. They won a couple. Lost to White Knoll, who kind of wrote them off again. That White Knoll game was a one-score football game. It wasn't like a blowout. Like, it wasn't like, they got the doors blown off. I think they're poised for a big run here. And I like where they're at, too, because TL Hanna's a team that is tough for me to figure out. I think Dutch Fork against TL Hanna in round 2 could be really good. I think the Silver Foxes win that one. They're poised to make a deep run. Drell, any comments, or what do you think about 5A as well, you personally? Drill, we don't have your volume. We don't have your volume, Drill. We don't have you.
Sorry, a little slow delay there.
Maybe he was just
all right, cool. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I was censoring myself. 5A, man, it's just been it's a wild card. You have no idea who's going to be there. My favorite, I'm going to go Somerville. I like them. I like their ability to score points. The Green Wave have just continued to answer the call each and every week. Sleeper, I'm the same way. I think Dion said it best, man. Dutch Fork, and you said it as well, Kev. You just can't count them out this time of the year. It's going to be a November to remember. But I also like those teams. I like Ashley Ridge a lot. I like Carolina Forest. When you talk about, teams you can't count out, Gaffney is right there as well.
Always.
So, yeah. Those
they're coming off a loss, too.
Yep, exactly. TL Hanna, just that style of offense. You just never know what's going to happen there. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of teams that are going to be in the mix for the 5A state crown.
None of us said anything about Hillcrest.
Yeah, another team that's got the offensive firepower to be anybody. Caleb Sutton has been playing better. Got hurt last week was a big problem in that loss there. But, in 1A, or excuse me, in 5A, you've seen it in our polls all year long. We keep saying it. Everybody seems to have flaws. which kind of makes it a little more open, it feels like almost. So is our last exercise here. We're going to do for each class. I talked to the guys preseason, or I guess this week, said, how many times do you think, or excuse me, how many teams do you think can win state right now? Jarrell, John, myself, all came up with their own numbers. I don't know who's in their group. They don't know who's in my group. Who wants to go first? Who wants to give their number first?
I'll go first.
John's got his number. John's got 4 teams in 5A teams can win state. Only 4.
That's it.
That's
Jarrell,
crazy.
how many
I've
you
got double that. I've got 8 teams that I legitimately think can win
8.
state
I
championship.
love it.
8 teams.
So we got 4, 8. I've got 9.
Oh
I
my
think 9
goodness.
can win it. And if you want to get really close about it, I've got 2 question marks. And also, I think I can win it all.
So 11.
Just right. I'm going to go with 9. So we got 4, 8, and 9. I mean, that just shows how wide open 5A is, I feel like.
Yeah. And 4, well, we'll get to it later. 4 is a big number for me.
But yeah, no, I
Love
think it's a
any
lot.
5A
I think it's just wide open, man. It's crazy to see. We'll just go ahead and go through what I've got here.
Robert, good seeing you in here, man. As always, appreciate you.
John's got Bowling Springs as a sleeper.
Hey, I mean, they got some talent. If they get past, it's in the playoffs too. If you get, if you get one big win, get some momentum rolling, never know what can happen. So that certainly could happen in Bowling Springs. Chad, good having you here, man. Yeah, crazy game against Somerville for sure.
Yeah, that's all I got. Well, I guess we'll just head on down to 4A. There's a lot of fun there, too.
Looking down at the 4A slate now. Drew, if you want to put it on the screen, you can. If not, that's fine, too. Doesn't really matter. John's got it pulled up, so either way.
Yeah,
I'll
you
go
just tell
ahead,
me what you
as
guys
you're
want.
pulling it up. We'll start with Upper State this
Do
time.
it.
So one of our CONA games of the week is at the top of the bracket. That's Indian going to Greer. And then the winner of that game is going to face. This is a pretty exciting game here. Greenville hosting South Aiken. A lot of talent on the football field for that game.
The thing with South Aiken, they're a team that's got so many athletes, you can never count them out. Javon Edwards, one of our players we had, I think 300 plus last week. Some crazy number. Terrence Smith, the quarterback, has been out. I'm not sure if he's back or not for this week. But with what they can do on offense, they're never out of a football game. But Greenville has been playing really well lately. They've really turned it on the last 2 weeks, beat Greenwood handily. I feel like they're fully healthy as well right now. I think they're poised for a deep run.
Yeah, I thought that Greenwood game was going to be a bit of a ball game. I thought that was going to be a kind of tight game. I thought Greenville would win, and they ended up really taking it out on Greenwood. Greenville, if they play to their potential, they're going to be right there at the end of it. Whether they do or not, it's a completely different story. You got to do it, right?
Yep.
But that's a tough first round game. And the way they've got this 4A bracket, they've got it, like the basketball bracket 1 through 16. This is technically the 8 and 9 matchup. Greenville, the host, it being technically the 8 here. Below that, you've got North Augusta hosting Greenwood.
A rematch from earlier in the year. North Augusta won that game 49-40. Super exciting game. I believe that one might have been at Greenwood. No, that one I think was at North Augusta. I think they'll be back at North Augusta again. But that's a tough loss for the Yellow Jackets last week against Midland Valley, a 1-pointer. But they are putting up a lot of points right now. I think they're going to win again.
And that's going to be tough getting off the mat from a big emotional rivalry game and to be as close and lose like they did. I think there was a 2-point conversion they didn't quite get.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see how they respond come Friday night. I think that could be a tough game. And then Northwestern.
Deion says it was at Greenwood. That's right. Yeah, that ball game was at Greenwood.
Northwestern will host Lawrence. So Northwestern gets Friday night, as they should.
Yep.
They deserve that. Riverside hosting York. Westside will host Airport. South Point is going to host Eastside, and Midland Valley hosting Easley. One thing that I'm kind of intrigued by the Westside Airport game.
Mm-hmm.
I think Westside's clearly the better football team in that game. Airport plays pretty good defense.
They do.
And I think this is a great first round matchup for Westside to get tested by a pretty good defense in the first round. Be interesting to see how tested they get in that ball game.
And Airport's played a really tough schedule. Obviously, Midland Valley and North Augusta in region, along with South Aiken. Also have played Irmo, Lamar out of region. So they played a tough slate for sure this year for Coach Filler, but they've done a great job. Had a bye week finally last week, so they had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, which certainly has to help them out in that spot. The game I'm looking at there, I think is a possible upset, John, is that Riverside York game. Riverside, I think, has a lot of talent, but just has not seemed to really put it together very well this year. I think York, even off a big loss last week, I think Coach Boyd has those guys rolling. I think they win this game this week.
I wouldn't be surprised that York win that ball game either.
Looking
now,
down at Lower State.
Going down to the Lower State now, South Florence, the top banana in Lower State, they will host Lugoff Elgin. Props to the Demons for getting in the playoffs. Bluffton is going to be hosting Richland Northeast.
Could see some points in this one. Correct. Owen Bays for Bluffton. Obviously, Will Wilson and Richland Northeast can put up some huge numbers. That could be a shootout down there.
Yeah, that could be a really good game. Richland Northeast, they're not a great team, but they got some very good quarterback.
Yeah.
And they can score some points. That could be an exciting ball game. Lucy Beckham going to host West Florence. Ridgeview at home against Lancaster. Myrtle Beach will be hosting May River. Irmo at home against Colleton County. Hartsville hosting AC Flora. That would have been a really good game a few years ago.
Yeah.
Now it's a first-round game. And then James Island will be hosting Wilson.
Yeah, I think that the lower half for me, John, I don't see a whole lot that really excites me, in round one, almost in Lower State. You mentioned maybe that Bluffton R&E game, maybe Lucy Beckham, West Florence. West Florence just had a hard time on offense, so they can't get it going. And Lucy Beckham is not the team you want to try to have to figure it out against because they play a great style of defense there for sure. So I'm going to think I think it stays pretty close to chalk there in the Lower State. But, Drew, any comments on this 4A bracket?
Let me unmute myself again. Let's try that. Yeah, 4A, man. I think it's – I don't know. I think we'll just go to the next segment. I think there's going to be some good games early on, but it's one of those things where I think this is more we know what's going to end up being. So I'll just seg that into our next segment.
Yeah. Do we have any comments from the chat before we give out some of our favorites and sleepers here?
Let's see. Sorry, computer loading up slow. We got another one.
AC Florida with the upset. That'll be surprising. Okay. I think Hartsville's getting healthy at the right time for them. Danger says Lancaster beat Ridgeview. Lancaster said has been a frisky team this year, playing good football. Ryan, exactly right. Greer rolling new quarterback Chris Hall. If you missed our game of the week, Greer, any of that preview, check out the beginning of the show. Go check that out. It's a lot of good stuff on there. Dion says Midland Valley.
Nobody should be sleeping on Midland Valley.
They're playing great football right now as well. Caleb, good to see you in here as always, my man. Northwestern's Dion's favorite. I think they're a lot of people's favorites for sure.
Yeah, that's all the comments we got right now for 4A.
Perfect. I'll tell you, John, 4A for me, I think it really starts and ends with Northwestern and South Florence. Yeah. A couple other teams, you look at James Island and Irmo had great seasons. They're playing football too, but I think it's really those two at the top. Some sleepers. It's hard to really, like you said, Midland Valley's kind of a sleeper, I guess.
Yeah.
West Side team that we don't talk a lot about, but with West Side, their defense really works. They can score a lot of points.
It's gotten better than it was last year.
I'll tell you a couple of dark horses I have, though. Hartsville is one of them. A team I was super high on early on in the year. There you go, Tank, exactly right. Yeah, Hartsville I was really high on, had a bunch of injuries, kind of lost some games there. Starting to get healthy, and it feels like I think the Red Foxes could make a deep run in the 4A playoffs, John. Who are some guys you like in this bracket?
That is a scary team when they're healthy.
Yeah.
I'm going to go – my sleeper from the way the bracket works out, I'm going to go South Point. And, look at when you talk about Midland Valley, talk about Irmo even. They're one seeds. They should be getting in the mix and mixing it up late in the season. South Point, they're 2. They've got some losses. I feel like a lot of us, even myself, running them off a little bit.
Yeah.
But they're still really, really talented, and they can really play some good football. Nearly knocked off Gaffney over at the reservation earlier in the season. South Point's a team you talk about. Don't sleep on somebody. Don't sleep on South Point because they got the talent, enough talent to beat anybody.
Yeah.
And they can make a deep run. And that could be a game. If you talk about, it would be a potential upper state championship, Northwestern South Point. Ooh.
Stallions don't want that smoke. They don't want that smoke again, John.
I don't know that anybody does, but it's hard to write them off in that game.
I think 4A, I think it's really, really top heavy. Like I think those top 2, maybe 3 or 4 teams are just a cut above, and after that, it's really deep. Irmo's a sleeper. I think Irmo's like one of the favorites, probably. Honestly, Jermaine, they're playing that good. But if you look farther down the line, like I'm high on Greenville. Like they've got the talent. We know that.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
I've been really high on Myrtle Beach all year. Can they knock off the Irmos and the South Florence? That's the problem. Can they do it? Probably not. North Augusta team that can put up points like crazy. Has been playing good football, but they're running into that Northwestern buzzsaw in round 2 probably. So how's that going to go? But 4A is going to be really fun to see, especially those last couple weeks. Drell, any more comments or what are your thoughts on 4A? I know you gave a couple things already, but any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree. I think 4A is pretty top heavy. It's so hard to say like Irmo's a sleeper, or James Allen's a sleeper. Like these are teams that they've been there all year. Midland Valley the same way. They've been there all year. Sleeper in the upper state, I have to go Greenville just because of their talent. Lower state, this one might throw people off. Lucy Beckham, defense travels.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, they just play really sound football. I don't know if they have enough offense to make a state title run, but I like Lucy Beckham too. So just got a bunch of comments here. It's a lot of fun to see people what they think about these teams.
Overrated. Interesting.
I don't know.
Brian says he likes Irmo, play good defense. Yeah, they're playing great. I mean, they're so big and physical right now. They're a really tough team for Coach Brand.
Yeah, that's that for the comments right here.
But, okay, so back to our exercise, guys. How many teams do you guys think can win state out of 4A? I'll go first in this one. I was really thinking about putting 1 or 2, and that'd be it.
Yeah.
But I broadened my horizon. 7.
7?
7?
That's
7.
It's generous.
There's no way.
We got 2 from Jarrell.
I got
2
2
from John.
And everybody knows the 2. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah. My thought is, see, catch them on the right night. You never know. The problem is you need one of those big dogs to get knocked out because then it really opens up. That's the thought process.
If one of those 2 gets knocked out, it immediately goes to 6 or 7.
Yeah,
that I 100% agree.
Yeah, I see got some numbers in the chat, Drill. What's everybody else thinking? I see some numbers popping up.
We got 1. We got 4. 5.
4's a good number.
3 from Andy.
Yeah.
5 from Dion. 5 from Williams. I like it.
Yeah, those are the numbers we have. I don't know if I got Nigel in there. He has 2.
7's that's a reach.
Hey,
yeah.
If you get hot and it falls the right way, John,
Is Lugoff Elgin in that 7?
No, they didn't make it. Sorry.
They must have been number 8.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got some more in here. I think Ryan's got 4. Ty's got 4. So yeah, I mean, I think 4A is really top heavy. Like when you start thinking about these things.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with 4.
I like it. I like it.
It's a lot of fun, but yeah, those top 2, I just don't see anybody beating those 2.
It's not that 3 and 4 are bad. I just think 1 and 2 are that much better.
Yeah, that's the thing. I love those. I love those other teams.
But
I want to see it though. I want to see it. I'd love to see some chaos.
Yeah, we'll have to look at all these comments later on the Facebook chat and YouTube. So we got to keep the show going.
I love it. Let's take a look now at the 3A bracket here, John.
All right, let's go. How about we go lower state first here for 3A? We'll start with Dillon. They're going to be hosting North Charleston. Camden at home.
North Charleston might forfeit that game. They might not even show up.
You know what? They should go. Go to the White Walls. It's an experience. If nothing else, you get to say, hey, we got to play a game in Dillon. That'll be cool. Camden will be hosting Greer. Hanahan at home against Ainer. Gilbert will host Darlington. Congrats to Darlington.
That's
for getting
awesome.
To the playoffs.
Awesome.
And not even as a 4. They're a 3.
Yeah.
Good job by Darlington. I tell you what, you talk about one of the most improved teams of the season. Darlington, certainly.
Yeah. Hadn't won a game in like 2 or 3 years, I think it was.
Yeah. And not even close.
Yeah.
Brooklyn Casey with their big win Friday.
Mm-hmm.
They are a 1 seed. They'll host Lake City. We talked about one of our CONA games of the week. Philip Simmons hosting Manning. Crestwood at home against Orangeburg Wilkinson. And Loris will host Beaufort to round out Lower State.
Looking at Lower State, I'm kind of intrigued by Hanahan Ainer. Hanahan's been playing really good football right now. Ainer has not been playing their best, but they're always kind of sneaky. What they can do on offense can give you some fits every now and then. Looking at that Phillipson's Manning game, obviously that's one of our games of the week you saw there. But I'm kind of intrigued by Loris and Beaufort.
That's
one
the game
for me.
I have my eye on. Yeah, I think that can
Loris,
be a really good game.
the big win over Manning 2 weeks ago, blew them out, playing good football now for Coach Mance. Beaufort, a team that we were all high on coming into the year. Obviously, last year state champs. Had a couple early losses out of region. Didn't worry about those, but then got the doors blown off by both Philip Simmons and Hanahan. That worries you a little bit. I think Loris wins this game. Beaufort will put up a heck of a fight. They're always a tough out in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. Going up to Upper State, we'll have Daniel hosting Blue Ridge. Wren is at home against Woodruff. Chapman hosting Crescent. Chester going to be hosting Powdersville. That's a fun matchup there. Those are two pretty talented teams.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody playing either two of those teams can write them off.
Yeah,
they're going to be a tough game for anybody. And it's almost disappointing they got to play the first round.
This is a game last year. Powdersville blew the doors off these guys in the playoffs. And Chester's looking for a little bit of a revenge here, but we'll see what happens on Friday.
Then Belt Homeopath, they will host Emerald. Pendleton at home against Travelers Rest. Clinton at home against Palmetto. Broome will be hosting Seneca to round out the Upper State bracket for 3A.
Upper State, I don't see a whole lot of upsets either. I mean, maybe Powdersville gets Chester. I don't think they do, but maybe they could. Outside of that, I think it stays pretty true to form. Nothing too crazy there in my take. Drill, any comments from the chat on this Upper State and Lower State 3A bracket? Guess not. Derek says Powder trying to get a win. Yeah, I think they certainly can. I mean, they've got the talent to do it. Jesse says Wren, Woodruff maybe. I think Wren's too good. What Bagwell and Price, those guys are doing are really good. Dion says Daniel and Dylan's his favorites. BC is a sleeper. Certainly makes sense there. Nigel says Dylan, you. Yeah, those boys are playing great football right now, but kind of been under the radar all year long. Coach Roller's doing a great job there with the Wildcats. Of course, it's Camden and Dillon round 2. Yeah, that's a heavyweight matchup early on in the playoffs. You don't see that one usually that early. No doubt about it. That'll be a big-time matchup there between the White Walls if that one comes to be next week. So, John, in 3A, I think for me, there's really two favorites in the Upper State, Daniel and BHP, and two favorites in Lower State for me, Dillon and Crestwood. After that, I think there's some depth there. I think a Camden team could get hot. I think Hanahan is a team that we don't know enough about, but they're playing good football right now.
Gilbert
BC, what they just did to Gilbert was really impressive. Clinton, obviously, they're getting healthy at the right time. It feels like some pieces just aren't going to come back, but they're getting better. I think 3A is pretty deep as well, but it's hard not to look at a Daniel, Dillon, BHP. One of those guys could probably come out at the end.
Yeah, we talk all season about how, Dillon doesn't get tested a ton. Daniel doesn't get tested a ton. And it's really fun when we get to the playoffs because then it's okay, we got to spread the field. I spread mine for, my number of teams for 3A, or in my opinion, because I just don't know. I know that Daniel's good. I know that Dillon's really good. I know that BHP's good, but I don't know how they are in comparison to one another.
Yeah.
And hopefully we get some of those really big matchups as we progress. But that makes 3A so tough because, they are, there's a lot of good teams. We just don't know how good they are in relation to one another.
Yeah, a couple sleepers I've got. You mentioned Hanahan. I mentioned those guys, don't know a whole lot about them, but they're playing good football. Philip Simmons, I know they took it on the chin to Hanahan. Kind of surprised there, but they can run the ball. They're really good with that, what they do there, kind of that double wing out of their shotgun. They do do a good job there. And then hard to put this team as a sleeper, Camden. I mean, from but coming in as a 2 seed, kind of not talked about. I think if they can get that win in round 2 against Dillon, they're rolling at that point. So it comes down to that for those guys, of course, but we'll see. And then a really, really, really deep sleeper, Pendleton.
Oh,
because they can put up points. They can put up a lot of points.
Yeah.
You never know what happened there. But that's just a couple guys I got my eyes on. How about you, Drell, or you, John, in 3A?
Yeah. For my sleeper, I'm going to go Philip Simmons. I know there are two, but I think all the 1 seeds have a very good chance at getting to. I said Columbia earlier, getting to
Orangeburg. Yeah,
Oliver C. Dawson Stadium. I think all the ones have a really good chance. But out of that, past those guys, Philip Simmons is my sleeper. But 3A is a class where there's a lot of really good teams, but it's hard for me to pick against BHP this year from what they've done. And it's not, oh, wow, they've won close games. No, they have just been showing everybody the door in the first half. BHP they seem to be, Powdersville kind of had that magic and seemed to be having everything going their way last year. it kind of seems that way for BHP this year, where they're just it seems like they might be a step ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, Drew, who are some teams you like in 3A ranks?
Oh, I like a lot of teams, mainly in the upper state though. I like the 3A teams in the upper state more than lower state. I really was hoping Manning was going to be a little bit better and be a sleeper. I saw someone in the chat said Ainer. I think Corey said that. I think that's a good pick. But yeah, I like Crestwood a lot in the lower state. And I really like BHP, but it's one of those things, that known commodity of Daniel. It's like, how do you pick against Daniel? So
Exactly.
I think that's going to be tough there. So it's
Yeah,
going to be a lot of fun.
Somebody in the chat had a question: who's the most balanced team in 3A? I think for the most balanced team to me is probably Daniel or Crestwood, because they've got good offense through the air, good offense on the ground, and solid defense. I think with Dillon, really run heavy. Jamarian Fling, which nothing wrong with that. They had a great offensive line with Josiah Thompson. If they got to throw it in the game, we'll see how that goes for them. BHP also really run heavy, it feels like. So if you're looking for balance, I'm thinking probably one of those two. But
probably the most accomplished team as far as who you've beat, what you've done, is probably Crestwood.
Yeah. One team we have not talked about in 3A, Chapman.
Yeah.
The drone I saw last week, that, they've got one loss to Bowling Springs, have maybe the best win in the state with that win over Burns early on.
Yeah.
Coleman Gray is a stud at quarterback. Love the way that he plays there. Matthias Scott at running back's tough. Rashawn Cunningham gives him a playmaker out wide as well. Love what Coach Cab's done with that team. They're a very good squad that could get hot and make a run as well. There's
been a number of teams that have gone up to Chapman and thinking they're going to win and came away with an L. And I've been to a state championship game where the lower state team thought they were going to put it on them, and they got whooped. Physically got whooped by Chapman. So that's a team. This is one of those years where you can't count out the Panthers. They're the real deal right now.
Yep. Any comments, Drell, on this before we do our little exercise of how many teams can win it all?
Let's see. I think we're gonna.
I see it's blowing up. Yeah, Andy says BHP and Daniel. Yeah, those are two teams I think they got to be the favorites in upper state for sure.
That'd be a great game. We get it.
Travis says BHP to one dimensional. Yeah, that's what's worried me too. Is can they throw it if they have to? I don't know.
But that's a really good dimension.
Yeah, they haven't had to. So it's hard to say. Hard to say.
Yeah,
Daniel very balanced and offense. Is exactly right.
Yeah, that's all the comments I got right now that I can filter through.
I did see one more question about Broome and Clinton in round 2 if we get there.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
I was trying to save that for next week.
But yeah, we'll see what happens next week with that. Okay, so how many teams in 3A do you guys think can win it all? Who wants to go first this time?
I'll kick it off. I'll go first. Okay. I got 7.
7 for Jarrell. How many you got, John?
Yeah.
I got 4.
John's got 4. I've got 6.
Okay.
So we're all kind of in that same area there on this one. All pretty tight there. What's the chat got, Jarrell? We got any low numbers, high numbers? Where are they thinking?
We got some 5s, got some 3s in here. Just waiting on some more. I'll explain mine. I just like a lot of the teams in the upper state. I have 5 teams strictly from the upper state that I think that can win. I'll tell you, I guess my sleeper of all sleepers is Broome. Jesse kind of alluded to it in the chat. If they can get by Clarendon in that second round, I think they can make a run because Jalen McGill, man, that kid is spectacular. So that's a big thing there. And then in the lower state, I just think there's really just 2 contenders.
You know what's funny, Jarrell? We're pretty much flipped on this. So I'm not going to reveal my teams here. I've got 2 upper state, 4 lower state I think can win it all.
Nice.
So little flip there because I think this team who I do want to mention, Dion says 1. I love that. There's one team we got to mention here I think that we have not talked enough about this year, and we got to Brooklyn Casey. They've been very impressive. Will Young at Wildcat, quarterback, whatever you want to call him, one of the best athletes in the state. He's a receiver, Shrine Bowl guy, but he's a stud for Coach Sharpie. They're playing really good. Knocked out that previously unbeaten Gilbert team last week. Don't forget they also beat a team with 1 loss, Hampton County, a couple weeks ago that everybody's really high on in 2A. So they're playing good football down the stretch. BC's a team they got to look out for. And John, as you know, great home field advantage down there too.
Oh yeah, Cage is a fun place to be, unless you're the visiting team. And I'm with you, Kevin. I was thinking about this earlier today, and I'm thinking, upper state. I'm thinking BHP and Daniel, and I go, wait. I started looking at the bracket, so I've got, and I use my own kind of math. I was like, there's 2 or 3 in the lower state I feel really, really good
Yeah.
about. In the upper state, 1 or 2.
Yeah, I think upper state for me is Daniel PHP. That's what it comes down to, I think, honestly. So will be a lot of fun. Any more 3A comments, Drill, if we look down at the 2A ranks?
Just a lot of numbers. A lot of people.
I love it. Keep
They're in
sending
that
in, guys. We appreciate it. We appreciate
4,
it.
6, 3 range. Yeah, I think that's good stuff. I think this 6 is probably I'm overvaluing a particular team, but 6 is probably better than my 7. So, but yeah, a lot of good stuff.
Well, we'll see how it all changes next week.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, let's take a look down now at the 2A bracket, John. And you want to start upper or lower state today?
Let's go lower state here.
Let's do it.
We'll have Andrew Jackson hosting Ridgeland Hardyville, Timberland at home against Kingstree, Hampton County hosting Bishop England, Andrews at home against North Central, a North Central team that's been up and down all year.
Yeah.
They finished the year kind of strong. I like Andrews in that ball game, though. Oceanside hosting Lee Central. Sherrall, we talked about Sherrall in the preseason about how they should be a very improved team. They are very much. They get a 2 seed. They're at home, though, against a really good Woodland team. That's a tough draw to draw Woodland as a 3 seed. That could be a good game. I think Woodland wins it, though. Marion will be hosting Central at Pageland, and then Barnwell is at home against Lake Marion.
I've got my eyes really on 2 games in the lower state this week, John. And that's Timberland Kingstree. I'm pretty high on Timberland, but I also think Kingstree has some playmakers as well. What Coach Smith's doing there has been really impressive. You know, don't forget that's a newer school. Their second year in existence after combining and taking over, C.E. Murray a couple years ago. So they're playing good football right there. I don't think they're quite going to beat Timberland, but it'll be a fun matchup. And then Sherrall Woodland. Woodland, a team that was undefeated going into that Hampton County game a couple weeks ago, got absolutely smoked. Turn around, lose to Barnwell the next week. They do win last week finally to kind of get off the snide there, but they had some guys out in those 2 losses. Not sure if they're back or not yet. Don't know what the situation is there. They had a couple guys out. So that game probably wasn't as bad as they looked like, I would say, maybe, in those 2 losses. But those 2 ball games should be fun. And Oceanside Collegiate, do want to say this. Quarterback Edward Reidenbach, torn ACL last Friday in that Timberland win. That's a huge loss there for the Land Sharks, losing your senior quarterback going into the playoffs. Not what you want to have happen, but they've got some depth there, especially on defense. I think they can make a deep run, but that is going to be tough to replace there.
Yeah, it certainly will. And I think, like you said, those 2 games that you mentioned, I think are the 2 big games for lower state in week 1 or round 1 of the playoffs, I should say. Flipping over to the upper state, you've got Abbeville hosting Columbia. Newberry will be at home against Saluda, a Saluda team getting a 4 seed. Newberry improved.
Yep.
Tough draw to get Saluda in the first round.
Salute have been so up and down, man. They look great one week, they look bad one week. Losing in overtime to Batesburg-Leesville last week puts them in that 4 seed where they've been in the 2 seed. Huge loss there for Coach Young's squad. Newberry had the tough loss to Fairfield Central last week. What can you do? That's a good squad there under Coach Davis. But that will be a fun game. I think I got to lean Saluda, but you never know what might happen.
Yeah, I'm leaning Saluda too, but like you said, they've been a little bit of a roller coaster. Would not be surprised if Newberry wins that game at home. Then you got Silver Bluff hosting Mid Carolina. Fairfield Central is at home against Liberty. Landrum will go to Strom Thurmond. 96 at home against Keenan. Good to see 96 back in the playoffs. They're 2 seed this year. Gray will be hosting Pelion, and Batesburg-Leesville at home against Chesney. Batesburg-Leesville team that's come on late in the year.
Yeah, I think in the upper state for me, Newberry Saluda is intriguing, and I think after that, it's not a whole lot besides that for upper state for me. Any thoughts from you, John, on the upper state 2A bracket this week?
Maybe 96 Keenan. That for a 1-4 game, that could be a little bit closer to the most 1-4s. Batesburg-Leesville Chesney could be that could be a ball game. Chesney's played some decent football this year, so we'll see how that goes. But I think the second round games we're going to see more, a little bit more intrigue in 2A. And 2A is one as we work our way to the numbers thing. I'll say my sleeper, and I don't have a whole lot of sleepers because I think the 2A teams, kind of like 4A, the 2A teams are really, really good. They're at the top of the top level. Yeah, I'm going to go for my sleeper And I feel like this isn't a sleeper. I want to say Hampton County.
Okay.
Yeah, that's first year as one school.
Yeah.
Boo.
I know we talk about them a lot, but I think they're going to be kind of one of the teams that maybe not everybody's counting on to make it on Orangeburg that's got a really good chance.
Yeah, I think for sleepers for me, Timberland is one I'm really high on. They played a really tough non-region schedule early in the year. Lost to Berkeley and a couple other big guys there. Yeah, I agree with you, Dion. I think they've got a good squad. The offense is playing really well for them. And then Silver Bluff, too, a team that you got to watch out for. That defensive line, what they can do there with Boyd and Eason and Fuller and those guys, they can really get after you. If they can find any semblance of a pass game, they're going to be really tough. We'll see that happen. Now, those two are kind of sleeper spots there for me. Favorites, obviously, Abbeville's there. Great Collegiate's there. Strom Thurman's there. Oceanside's there. Marion and Hampton County and Lower State as well are big-time players. But, Drew, who do you like in 2A?
Yeah, I got to agree with Dion there, too. He's stealing our thunder. We actually talked about that this weekend. Timberland can definitely make a run.
Yeah,
really
they're in a
excited
great
to see what
spot. The
they can
bracket
do.
looks at a really, really good way for them, it feels like.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of these teams, seen Gray. I think Gray I'm kind of worried about Gray just because they haven't played as much in state. Love Thurman, love that passing attack, just that offense in general. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch them. Abbeville, can't count them out at all. But yeah, I think there's just a lot of very good teams. I think it's going to be better than we anticipate. I think 2A is going to be a little bit deeper than we think initially. We thought.
I think so too. Any comments, Drell, in the chat we need to address?
Let's see. Get those pulled up.
Charlotte Gray, third round. That'll be a huge game, Dion, for sure.
Be fun.
Of course, Straw upset Woodland. Yeah,
okay.
I technically I think Straw is actually the home team.
They are the home team. They are
not necessarily an upset there. Gray Oceanside and 2A State, says Jesse. That could we will certainly implode statewide if that happens. So that people would not like that. Andrews Hampton County round 2 could be good for sure. I do want to talk about Corey's squad, Marion, for a second. One loss on the year, guys. That's to Myrtle Beach. Like, they played really good football. Didn't play the toughest non-region schedule, but they've really blown a bunch of teams out. They played really great with, Tyshawn Sanders, Quashie Scott, Gabe Sanders, and crew. As many athletes as anybody in 2A, honestly, probably.
Yeah.
Could certainly get hot and make a run in lower state. I feel like upper state's probably a little deeper as far as, quality teams go.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But let's go to the exercise, guys. Ty says Lee Central could be a sleeper. They certainly could. That was a team that hung around with Marion for a bit. I think got the 2 seed out of that region. They've got some players down there for sure. Team that does not get talked about a lot, they could make some noise.
If they win round 1, they will no longer be a sleeper.
Yeah, Boston says Strom Thurman 8-2, 2 losses to 4A teams. Yep, exactly right. Zach's looking forward to Thurman and Gray. That'll be a huge game if that comes up here in a few weeks.
Corey, I think the forfeiting is done.
Gray. Yeah, if they played them in the playoffs, Corey, I'm pretty sure they're going to play them. I would doubt they would forfeit. That would take some serious stones to do that in the playoffs. And I don't think anybody would forfeit a playoff matchup. Brian says Strom Thurman versus Oceanside. That would be a heck of a ball game. Strom Thurman, playmakers all over the offensive side. Great defense as well. Oceanside, really good defense. Offense, got to figure it out now with the quarterback going down with the ACL injury. Do they go Will Virgilio at quarterback? What do they do? I don't know. But I'm sure Coach Wilkes will figure it out. He's a great guy, great coach there, a mastermind for sure. See how that works out. And if you guys missed our interview with Coach Wilkes, that's on our Facebook and YouTube page 2 weeks ago. He talked about his team. He talked about the charter school stuff, talked about what he thought about this season so far. Great stuff there from Coach Wilkes. So let's do it, guys. How many teams in 2A do we think can win state? Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
What do we got, John? 4. John's a big 4 guy. Big 4 guy. I've got 6. Same as I did for 3A. Drew, how many do you have?
I'm gonna kick it to Spades reference here. I got 4 and a possible. How about that? Does that work?
You got a question mark on there. Okay, that's a question mark too. I like it.
4 in the hook.
I got 4 and a possible. So we'll see. What happens.
I like it. And I think for me, looking at this bracket, I think it was pretty even upper lower state for me as far as who I thought could win it all. Pretty good split both sides. It felt like, but yeah, I think 2A is going to be a lot of fun these next few weeks.
We got some numbers here. We got some 3s, some 4s. I got 12.
A 12?
Yeah, that's
okay.
a 12. I got an 8.
An 8?
I guess
Hey,
maybe that's 4
If
weeks.
things fall the right way, you never know who might get hot, man. I love it.
so.
I
That'd be
love
cool.
it.
Yeah, somebody was wanting us to. We definitely realize it.
Football in
You
Abbeville.
know,
Yeah, Abbeville's one of the favorites. We mentioned that
Yeah.
earlier. I mean, the Panthers are great. That you can never count them out. Last year's state title winners, of course, they're playing great football. I think they're not going to get tested for a few rounds. Maybe that's why they talk about them.
Yeah,
But
not a whole lot to talk about the first round.
you know, what Haddon's done on offense has really helped them out there. Obviously, Leach playing great on defense and whatnot, and then Patterson running the ball as well. They're a great team right now. Abbeville's playing great football.
yeah, Bossman's talking about Silver Bluff. That's a team that we've been high on a lot this year, but you know, kind of
good
faltered
run
a little bit
game.
down the stretch.
Good defense. Got to find the pass game for sure. But anything else, Jarrell, on 2A before we look down at 1A?
No, let's go ahead and move on.
Looking down at the 1A ranks now. Want to start upper state or lower state, John?
Let's go upper state.
Let's do it.
To start off, we've got Christchurch hosting Rich Spring Minetta, McVee's at home against Dixie, Blackville Hilda at home against McCormick, C.A. Johnson will be hosting Wagner Sally, and Calhoun County hosting Whitmire, Southside Christian will host Denmark Olar, Louisville hosting Calhoun Falls, and St. Joseph's will host Hunter Kenner Tyler in what I think will be a really good round one game there.
Yeah, upper state, I'm looking at that ball game there, HKT and St. Joe's, and then also C.A. Johnson, Wagner Sally, I think could be fun too. I think C.A. Johnson with Caleb Pearson a little too much on offense there. I think they win that one. But yeah, I think that St. Joe's HKT game is probably the game of round one in upper state 1A especially.
I think so. That's gonna be one to watch there. And then bouncing to the lower state, we've got Johnsonville at home against St. John's. Whale Branch will host Lakeview, one of our CONA games of the week.
Yeah, if you guys
gonna be an awesome game there.
If you guys missed that, it's the beginning of the show. Go check it out when we get done. We broke down that Wild Gator Warrior matchup there right off the bat.
Lamar at home against Branchville. Baptist Hill will host Carver's Bay. Bamberg Earhart at home against Hannah Pamlica. I gotta stop. So Baptist Hill is listed as, this is the South Carolina High School League, by the way. Baptist Hill is listed as Baptist High, and we have Banbury Earhart.
Yeah,
this is why we do this, guys. This is one of the reasons.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get it. Misspellings happen, but I mean, you do not check this stuff. Like, I know, like, come on, what are we doing here?
So the team formerly known as Bamberg Earhart, now Banbury Earhart, they'll host Hannah Pamplico. East Clarendon's at home against Military Magnet. Cross is at home against Hemingway. And Latta at home against Allendale Fairfax. Latta, an awesome season for the Vikings. Really tough first round draw for them, getting Allendale Fairfax. I think they're the better team. I think they win this game, but I think it's going to be a pretty competitive ball game over there in Latta Friday night.
Yeah, lower state, I'm looking, obviously, Well Branch Lakeview is a big game right off the bat. And I think Latta, Allendale Fairfax will be a good one too. Like you said, I think those are the two that to keep an eye on in lower state 1A. But 1A is a class that I think is very deep, especially in the lower state. You know, upper state, everybody loves Louisville. Everybody loves Christchurch. I mean, you think you probably still got to throw in Southside Christian and St. Joe's, even though they lost to Christchurch. It's two really good football teams there. I think those are kind of the favorites. Calhoun County, I can't get a feel for those guys. They're up, they're down. I don't know what to make of them. How good are they? Same thing kind of with HKT. And those guys all kind of beat each other up, it felt like. Same thing Blackville Hilda as well, kind of beat each other up. So upper state, hard to say. And then lower state, love what Bamberg's doing, love what Cross is doing. Really high on Lamar. I think we probably haven't talked enough about this year. Lamar's really good. And then last year's lower state winner, Johnsonville.
Yeah.
They're just kind of laying in the weeds, had a couple, odd losses early in the year, but they've got some pieces back. Obviously, Malik Shippey is still there. Coach Cribb does a great job. They've gotten better and better, it feels like. They can never be counted out in the playoffs, especially. So I think lower state and upper state 1A is going to be a lot of fun.
I think so, too. And a couple good – there's probably more potentially good games in 1A first round than any other round. And I think a lot of that's probably because the amount of schools that are in 1A. Mm-hmm. You're forced to have some better matchups early on. But I still think 1A is going to be a small field for who can get to Orangeburg.
Yeah, it's It's hard to say because obviously, you know, the story for the last couple of years has been the private schools. Like they've just been better than everybody else by a large margin. I think that gap has shrunk some this year. I really do. I think there's teams that compete. I think Louisville is right there. I think I'm high on Lamar. I told you guys I've been high on Lamar all year. You know, they have played such a tough non-region schedule. You're going to take some losses. You had some injuries as well. Quarterback Zori Pierce back now has been a game changer for them, playing great football there, along with Tay Dalford, an electric guy outside for those guys. I think they can compete. I think Bamberg Earhart can compete with their
Very
depth.
much.
I think they've got, 21 starters back from last year. They got a bunch of seasoned guys there.
Playing really good defense, too.
One of Jarrell's favorites, Cross. I don't really know what to make of Cross. I don't know. But they could be there as well. But I think 1A is going to be a lot of fun. Texas RSM for the upset. That would shock everyone, I think, if that happens today. Dangerous Lakeview, Wellbranch, good game. Yeah, it should be a great ball game there in round one. Of course, is that bus ride will take a toll on Lakeview. Yes, it's certainly. That's a long way down to Beaufort from Lakeview.
Yeah.
Dion says Louisville for the ship. He's got one team can win, and he said that's Louisville. I love it. I love it. Drew, Hunter says Johnson didn't allow to beat them by 30 early in the year. Hey, Latta's got a tougher road, I feel like, than what you would like. That Allen F. Fairfax game is going to be tough. Next round, Cross is going to be tough as well. Latta's playing a great football, a team that, you know, we probably should talk more about. Their lone loss is to Lamar. A very close ball game. They can certainly make a run there for Coach Eisman's squad. Drew, any comments on 1A from you?
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I think there's just two teams in the upper state that can get it done. Obviously, we know who those are, Christchurch and Louisville. And then I like Cross as my sleeper. They were my preseason pick. They took that week 0 loss to Calhoun County, took that on the chin, and they haven't lost since. So I really like Cross. But like you guys said, man, Bamberg, all those starters back, the experience there, and then Lamar playing that tough non-region schedule and then getting right when the time needed to be. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch these 1A playoffs.
Okay, I'll go first this time since I haven't in a while. But how many teams you guys think can win state? I may be way out on a limb here with this number. 6.
That's way out there. Well, I don't know. I get it. I get it.
I'm gonna go with 6.
I got 5. I got
5.
5.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not so much out on a limb there.
2.
John just got a short limb. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going. Obviously, who one of them is, and then my other one, I kind of roll in a couple. I guess you could say I had like 3 or 4. But I think one team. There's a couple teams that play good defense, I think, and I rolled in what I think the best team.
Best 3, my heart is I love it.
What'd you say?
Daedrian says, I've got 3, but my heart says 1.
Yeah. Me too, Daedrian. But I think one team that can play really good defense would have a chance.
Yeah.
I'll provide some pushback here, though. I really like, we've been banging the drum for Louisville since preseason. But again, that game last year against Christchurch, I know it's a different team. That is seared into my memory. So I have to see them knock
It is
off
tough to forget
Church.
that. It's tough to forget that.
And we were thinking Louisville was going to win that game.
Had a good chance.
Yes.
Going into it too. I felt pretty good about it.
It was not close. Now I think the way the bracket shakes out this time, they'd be playing this game at home. If we get to that point, but yeah, I still that's why I have multiple teams, because I was heavy on Louisville last year as well down the stretch, and then that game happened, and then there was one. It was Christchurch. So yeah,
love it.
That's fair.
Any 1A comments, Jarrell?
Daedrian's coming right back at me as he should.
Yes, I agree.
What's the thing, like Louisville has everyone back from last year, like literally everyone. While Christchurch lost a few key pieces, they're still very good, but they are back. Yeah, I think Mark Louisville's got a great shot. I think too.
They got to do it. They got to get there first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. Most of the other comments are just, people's predictions. So
perfect. We'll take a quick look now at the SCISA playoffs. Obviously a smaller, I think they only play 3 rounds here, guys, because they just don't have as many teams. But looking at 4A, we've got Hammond hosting Trinity Collegiate. Cardinal Newman hosting Augusta Christian. Actually played those guys last week and beat them. So funny how that works out there. Lawrence Manning hosting Heathwood, and Porter Gowd hosting Ben Lippen. I mean, it's obviously Hammond is the favorite in 4A. I mean, they're going to be until someone beats them. Cardinal Newman's had a good year this year. They had a shot and played Hammond tough, couldn't quite beat them. The team I'm looking at is Lawrence Manning. I think they've played really good football down the stretch and really all throughout the season. Porter Gal, with what they've done with J.J. Flood at running back, they're a tough out. But I think Lawrence Manning and Hammond's what we're looking at here in a couple weeks. But I think the Skyhawks have to be the favorite, I think, in 4A. And then Ben Lippin, too, a team to look out for. The Gilmore kid at quarterback's got enough. He's a big enough a playmaker that can beat anybody. But I still think Porter Gal wins that one. In the 3A ranks, Pinewood Prep hosting First Baptist, Hilton Head Christian hosting PD Academy, Florence Christian hosting John Paul, and Wilson Hall hosting Northwood. I think the state championship is out of these top 2 games here. It's Pinewood Prep or Hilton Head Christian, I feel like. And I don't know if they matched up because of where they're located or not, but I think those are the best teams. Coach Holloman's squad at Pinewood Prep's won 7 games in a row, played really well down the stretch. Hilton Head Christian's been getting better and better as well. In the lower half, Florence Christian playing football with Jules Huntley there. Wilson Hall had the big injury to the quarterback. That's tough to overcome this late in the year. We'll see how that happens. But I think Pinewood Prep and Hilton Head Christian, I think, are the 2 favorites in 3A. We'll look down at the next round next week. In the 2A rankings, Williamsburg hosting Spartanburg Christian, Buford Academy hosting Orangeburg Prep, Bethesda hosting Greenwood Christian, Clarendon Prep hosting Northside Christian. Williamsburg, last year's state title winner, playing good football right now. Buford Academy, they're trending in the right direction as well. They had a couple tough losses here to end the season, but they've got some playmakers there. Bethesda also undefeated on the other side of the bracket. They're a good football team. And then Clarendon Prep and Cole Davis can get it done. I think the sleeper there is Orangeburg Prep. Coach Don Shelley, 10 state titles, knows how to get done in the playoffs. They're playing better and better as the season goes on. Looking now at the 1A ranks, Thomas Hayward hosting Calhoun. Our game of the week, Lee Academy hosting Clarendon Hall. Dorchester hosting Dillon Christian, and Patrick Henry hosting St. John's Christian. I think Thomas Hayward's probably the favorite there in the upper state or the upper half of the bracket. And then Dorchester and Patrick Henry, I think, are on a collision course again in the lower half. And then in 8-man, Richard Wynn hosting Holy Trinity, Jefferson Davis hosting W.W. King, Holly Hill hosting Lawrence Academy, and Warlaw hosting Faith Christian. Everybody's really high on Holly Hill and Jefferson Davis, of course. I think Richard Wynn wins as well this week. The close game could be Warlaw and Faith Christian. I like Warlaw on that one, but should be a fun matchup. Anything else comment-wise, Jarrell? I know I see a couple from 1A and SCISA as well. So throw those up on the screen if you got them there. Tyler says Holly Hill and JD for 8-man. Yeah, I think so too. I think those are the 2 favorites. Richard Wynn has played football as well. They're kind of that third spot. I think if they get hot, they can make it happen. I think Holly Hill and JDA playing for the 3rd time. JDA won the first one. Holly Hill beat them again last week. That'd be a heck of a rematch for a state title, Tyler. Phillips says go Midland Valley. They're playing great right now in 4A for sure. Al says, yeah, don't count the RWA out for sure. They're playing good football. We'll find out in round 2 what they've really got, but they've been great all year long. I think their only loss is to those bigger schools, HHA and JDA. Of course, how many teams scored against Louisville? Not many. I know they had at least 5 or 6 shutouts, so there can't be a whole lot there. Hadrian says it's 3. We had McBee, Oceanside, and C.A. Johnson. So yeah, not a whole lot there. Crusher's not the same team as last year. Yeah, they actually lost some pieces for sure, but they still got Deshaun Reeder. The quarterback's getting better and better. The Hendricks kid, obviously, or Jackson rep out wide. Tyler says, how will Barnwell do in 2A? Barnwell's played good football lately. They lost last week to Hampton County, but that's not a bad loss at all. They came back and they beat Woodland 2 weeks ago. Big win for those guys. Cam Austin's a great quarterback. Jaquan Peoples at running back is really getting it figured out with their Coach Smith's squad. I think they're playing really good football right now. They get Marion round 2. We'll see how that goes, and that'll be fun. Al says Richard Wynn had played JDA. Yeah, their loss was to Holly Hill, I believe, correct? I think that's how that worked out. But they are playing good football right now, the 8-man ranks for sure. Drill, any other comments on anything before you give a quick shout out to our friends of the program?
Yeah, Corey, that's going to be a good game, or a potential good game if they both get there.
Deion says Upper State wins all the titles. Certainly could. I think we may see 1 or 2 Lower State guys this year. We'll see how it goes. But Upper State has had the upper hand lately for sure.
They could.
Let's go ahead and give a shout out to those sponsors.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
The George Agency has been serving the insurance needs of South Carolina for over 40 years. They're a full-line insurance agency concentrated in employee benefits and health insurance with an office in Mullins and Murrells Inlet, but they can help you all across the state. They have clients in Greer, Rock Hill, Columbia, and more, so wherever you are, they can help. Give Bradley, Wayne, Richard, and the crew a call or check them out online at thegeorgeagency.net. That's the SCHSFB.net. Okay, let's take a look at our final regular season poll. We've got this one coming out this week. No more polls until the season's over. We'll do one more final at the end of the year. But let's pop it up and take a look at who we've got in the top 5. This we've got Somerville at 1, White Knoll 2, Burns 3, TL Hanna 4, Ashley Ridge 5. Also receiving votes, Carolina Forest in the 5A ranks. We've seen so many teams in and out of 5A, it feels like this year, guys. Like we said, every team seems to have a little bit of a flaw. But that's who we've got is our top 5 in 5A. In 4A, Northwestern still at 1, South Florence 2, James Island 3, tied for 4th, Irmo Midland Valley this week. The Mustangs making up some ground there after the big win last week over North Augusta. In 3A, BHP and Daniel tied for 1st, Dillon 3rd, Crestwood 4th, Chapman 5th. In 2A, Gray Collegiate, Strom Thurmond, Oceanside Collegiate, Abbeville, and Hampton County. Also receiving votes is Marion. And then in 1A, Louisville, Bamberg Earhart, Christchurch, Calhoun County, and Lamar tied at 4th. And Southside Christian also getting a vote there in 1A. Like I said, guys, no more polls till the season's over. That's what we've got right now. But going to be a lot of fun down the stretch for sure. Drell, you got the SCISA polls. Real quick, we'll roll through those. We got Hammond, LMA, Porter Gal, Cornerman, Ben Lippen, Hilton Neck Christian, Pinewood Prep, Florence Christian, Wilson Hall, and Northwood Academy in 4A and 3A. And then Williamsburg, Bethesda, Colin Prep, Buford, Orangeburg Prep, Thomas Hayward, Dorchester, Patrick Henry, Lee Academy, Clarendon Hall. And then 8-man, Holly Hill, Jefferson Davis, Richard Wynn, Warlaw, and Faith Christian on the SCISA ranks there. So, guys, I guess it's time to wrap up our pick'em contest for the regular season. Let's first show just the Week 10 results, Drill, if you got that from Hanna Engineering. Week 10, we had Alex B with the Big 10 spot. A lot of folks with 9. We had Coach T, Franklin, Corey, Tyler, Shannon, TJH, D-Mac, Dexter, and Chechuan all with 9. 13 folks tied with 8. I had 8, John 7, Jarrell 6. Hats off to Alex B there winning the Week 10 contest. And now our overall winner, Chase H, with 83, winning the regular season contest. Chase will get in contact with you via email, get you your gift card. Man, hats off to that. Did a great job winning by 2 with the 83 spot. Andrew and Delby at 81, Coach T and Peyton at 80, and a bunch of folks in there. I had 81. John, you came back to beat Jarrell last week at 78, and Jarrell with 77 there. Hats off to Chase H. Glad to see that contest go so well. I think we had 160 folks participate this year, so awesome. a great number. Glad you guys could do that. We're also going to start a playoff pick'em contest. We'll post it on social media tomorrow. Guys, we'll have a new prize for that, so definitely join in for that. We'll do it throughout the playoffs. Definitely hop in there and join our playoff pick'em by Hanna Engineering. It's a lot of fun to do as well. Drill, any words from you for just how you blew it that last week to John there?
Yeah, I was actually worried about you and kind of let John sneak in the back door. Wow. So it was a situation where I was like, let me try to pick some games that I think Kevin's not going to pick to try to win it all.
That personally.
Second and third place, what's the difference? I mean, we still lost.
One's second and one's last. That's
sure. If that makes you feel better.
Yeah, definitely shout out to our friends at Hanna Engineering for sponsoring our pick'em contest. Like I mentioned, the regular season one is over. We've got a new playoff one starting up now here in round 1. So definitely join that. We'll have a new prize for that. So definitely hope you guys can be a part of our pick'em contest in the playoffs.
And
of course, I still got Marion out of the top 5. I don't, but these other yahoos here, they have Marion out of the top 5. Put it that way. I've got them in my top 5, but we shall see. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I also want to shout out our players of the week by the George Agency. This week we had – who did we have this week, guys? We had –
Let's see.
Who did we have this week in our players of the week? Drill, do you remember who our players of the week were? I know we had Javon Edwards at South Aiken.
Yeah.
We had Javon Edwards at South Aiken. We had
I completely blanked too.
On this right now.
I'm so sorry. This is fun. This is what happens when you do like live TV,
live radio.
Now. When I talk for 14 hours, it's hard to remember.
Yannick Smith.
It's a real big game for him.
140 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had 2 picks. As well. And
Cam McMillan.
Yeah.
Cam McMillan. That's right. Yeah. Sorry, I had a bit of a brain fart there for you guys. But yeah, shout out to our Players League brought to you by the George Agency. Shout out to those guys. Thank you guys for sponsoring that. Open enrollment is here. Check out georgeagency.net. Give them a follow. Get all your needs for open enrollment for your company or for yourself, whatever. Give those guys a follow there. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains, MOVINCHAINS. MovinChains.com is our website. Podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. We do our live preview show Tuesday nights at 7 on Facebook and YouTube. We'll be back next week previewing round 2. Our recap show comes out on Sundays on our podcast platforms. We do our Twitter Spaces on Friday night about 10:30, 11. Roll through all the scores from across the state. Had different players and coaches and play guys hop in. Great to get perspective from this. Hope you guys will join us this week and hop in and talk about your favorite team as well. Best time of the year is Hero Playoffs, John. So hopefully you guys will hop in and join that. And then also get you some MTC merch. We got hats. We got Richardson hats. We've got beanies. We got all different colorways for the hats too. We've got toboggans. Great stuff for the cold weather. Get you some. Support the boys. Help us make the show better and better and better. The hoodies are great quality. They feel really good. You can email mtcgear.sc@gmail.com, or you can comment on the social media post. Love to get you guys hooked up with that. Support us and help us out if you don't mind. But any other thoughts from you, Jarrell, on tonight and going into week 1? Of course, says keep the Calhoun Falls community thoughts prayers. Yeah, tough loss over there. They had a tragedy happen for sure. Definitely want to think about that community. I know we touched play football Friday night, but hopefully they can kind of rally together and kind of get through this tough time for sure. Great call there, Corey, on bringing that out. But Jarrell, any comments from you or from the chat or anything else before we wrap up here tonight?
No, nothing chat worthy. I think Courtney was asking about Marquise Henderson. He's just going to go crazy like he's been doing all year. So don't worry about that this first round. So yeah, he'll be fine. Just excited, to get into these matchups. I think we'll see a couple upsets, but it should be status quo for the most part. Maybe Lugoff, the Demons, can get a big win.
They're frisky, John. They're frisky.
If they score, that would be a big win.
That's a win. TR, I think, is the same way. So I'm right there with you.
Love it. Well, John, any other thoughts from you here as we're rolling to round 1 of the playoffs?
No, I'm excited. Hats off to all the teams that made the playoffs, all the 1 seeds, the region champs. Certainly there's some things that we expected to happen this year in the regular season. And there's some teams you go through the bracket and you go, wow, they made the playoffs. Wow, they won their region. So really cool to see the teams that had successful regular seasons do that. And it'll be even great to see what teams, are a little bit of a Cinderella here in the playoffs and which ones exceed expectations here in the month of November. Always fun to see.
For sure. And just, it's tough because this time of year, a lot of seasons and careers are going to end on Friday night. So definitely enjoy it if you guys, when you get out there, definitely enjoy it and take it all in and have a good time, man. But for Jarrell Hendricks and John Epps, this has been our round 1 of the playoff preview special. Yeah, sorry. I'm Kevin Thomas. Well, I don't think I said that, but I appreciate you guys tuning into our week 1 show, round 1 preview show. Moving the Chains, as always, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. We will catch you guys next week.